Hi, so we're going to briefly refresh some things you've already learned this year. We're going to be talking about doing our order of operations, which is our PEMDAS, and sometimes we're just going to be simplifying expressions, like in problem number 1. We're not actually going to solve it and get a numerical answer because we have variables and we're not solving for x here. Also, as a reminder, I feel confident in your abilities to work with decimals and a calculator, but just quickly, if you are good at taking notes, and this will help you, I'm sure, when facing fractions, a quick reminder, if you're adding or subtracting with the fraction, you're going to do the butterfly. For example, you may have 3/5 minus 4/9, okay? So what you would do is say 5 times 4 is 20, 9 times 3 is 27, and then you would bring up your subtraction sign. So 27 minus 20 is 7, and then 5 times 9 is 45. So your answer is 7/45. That is how you work with fractions when adding or subtracting. With multiplying, that is very simple. You multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So 1/3 times 4/5 would be 1 times 4 is 4, and 3 times 5 is 15. If you were dividing your fractions, you're going to do your KFC. So if I had 4/5 divided by 1/3, for example, you would keep the first fraction, change your division to multiplication, and flip or do the reciprocal of 1/3, which is 3/1. Now you have a multiplication with fractions problem, so you go straight across. 4 times 3 is 12, and 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, so there's a quick refresher. We're going to work on these 6 problems. So at this point, pause the video and write down carefully what these problems are. Then resume the video while we work them out. Okay, so I know I am working with a pencil today, which makes it a little harder for you to read, but I really wanted to emphasize that we must work problems like this with pencil because mistakes are common. That's how we learn. But we need to make sure that we can write the correct answer neatly because these are not just an assignment or practice, these are our notes that we can use on our test, and we need to be able to read them. So problem number 1 is our simplifying problem, and all we're doing is realizing that we've got a set of parentheses. We're not going to do parentheses first here because there's no operation we can do, because you cannot join 3x and 10, they're not like terms. So you could just rewrite 3x plus 10 plus 8x. Our like terms are the 3x and the 8x. This is plus 8 and this is a positive 3. So 3x plus 8x is 11x. And then we still have the term, which is a constant, plus 10. That's all we can do with that. This is simplified. You cannot simplify it more. That is the correct way to write that. Number 2, we are going to use our distributive property. Remember, this little guy here, our -2, is going to distribute to both terms that's in the parentheses. I like how you're going to be forced to multiply a -2 times a -5 here. So let's deliver -2 distributed to 3x. Well, -2 times 3 is -6. Don't forget to bring down your variable x. Now, -2 times -5 is a positive 10. I know you have a teacher that would say 3x, and then you would do add the opposite, right? Or add line, and I keep flip change. You're still doing -2 times -5 for a positive 10 plus positive 10. It's just an extra step I don't believe you need. So that is simply done. Here we have a fraction. Now, we are going to be multiplying, right? When we distribute, we are multiplying. So remember, multiplying fractions is multiplying straight across, top and bottom. So this is 1/5. This would be like the fraction 3/1. So this looks like 1/5 times 3 over 1. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 5 times 1 is 5. So 1/5 times 3x is 3x over 5. You could make this x really big. Either way, it's accurate. Then you have 1/5 times 1/2. Again, 1/5 times 1/2. Multiplying straight across top and bottom. So 1 times 1 is 1. 5 times 2 is 10. And a positive times a positive is still positive. I'm just bringing in my symbol. So 3/5 x plus 1/10. This you're much more comfortable with. We are distributing, right? And you can just put in your decimal. So 0.5 times 5, and I know what half of 5 is. It's 2.5. Bring in my x, and then 0.5 times 2.2. Well, I'm going to grab my calculator, and I'm going to put in 0.5 times 2.2, and I get 1.1. If you think about it, half of 2 is 1. Half of 2 is 1. So that makes sense, right? Positive times a negative is a negative. Cannot simplify this more because they are different terms. So this is our answer. All right, so these are more challenging. This is where you have to remember your PEMDAS. Remember, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. Whichever comes first, left to right. Okay, so I'm going to go to my parentheses first. Within my parentheses, I still need to follow PEMDAS. So what do I do first? Do I multiply the 4 and 8, or do I use my exponents? Well, according to PEMDAS, I would do exponents first. So 4 squared is 16 times 8. I always write the rest of my problem. I should get a beautiful V shape when I'm done. Now, looking at this, what do I do first? That's right. I still continue with my parentheses. So using your calculator, 8 times 16 is 128. I'm leaving that in parentheses because it's also being used here to show multiplication between parentheses and this 20. See, that means to multiply, and I need to be reminded of that. Go through and write the rest of my problem. So what do I do next? Do I multiply? Do I add, subtract, or do my exponents? I hope you said exponents. 2 to the 3rd power is 8. Writing the rest of my problem. Here I substituted the parentheses as with the multiplication dot. Now I've got an addition, I've got a subtraction, and I have a multiplication. You definitely should multiply first. So 128 times 20, because I get a big number now. Now that I've gotten this far, you can see it's working down. I'm going to add left to right. So 2560 plus 8 is 2568. Writing the rest of my problem of minus 32. I'm going to use my calculator to be sure of my accuracy, and I get 2536. All right, now, at this point, you need to bring your notebook to your teacher, show your teacher you've worked this problem out, and go get a golden calculator. That's right, you get a golden calculator. Okay, awesome, you're back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to take a big, harder problem like this and put it into the calculator so you can let the calculator do the work for you. And we're going to check and see if we get the same answer. So when you have a good calculator, you can let it do the PEMDAS for you if you put it in correctly. So 2 to the 3rd, I'm going to put in 2. and then I have a cubed. Here's a button if I just want to square it, but if I want any other exponent besides 2, I'm going to hit this rooftop symbol and then put my 3. Do you remember doing that? Now the next thing is this plus symbol, so I need to come up here to my wheel and I'm going to jump off the exponents up there back to normal, hit plus, parenthesis here above the 8, and then 8 times, here's my 4 squared. Here I can say 4 squared. See how the squared button comes in handy. Close parenthesis. Right away I'm going to put my 20 because I'm showing my multiplication here. There's no symbol in between those. And the calculator knows that means multiply. Minus 32. Did you get that all put in? All right. Hit enter. 25, 36. What do you know? All right. Move that aside. Let's look at this one. Woo! What are we going to do first? Remembering our PEMDAS. I don't have any parentheses, but I need to go after my exponents. So 3 squared is 9. Writing the rest of my problem. Sometimes I write it backwards, making sure I get everything along the way. All right, now I'm going to multiply and divide left to right at the same time. So I'm actually going to divide this, and down here I will multiply that. Remembering how to divide, this is 32 over 1. Keep. I'm going to change that to multiply, and I'm going to invert this and put 9 over 4. 32 times 9, I'm going to use a calculator. I don't know that off the top of my head. 288 over 1 times 4. I can look at this because I have some experience. I know my facts, and I know that this will go evenly. So I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to put in 288 divided by 4 because I knew I would get a whole number. So this is 72. Okay, write the rest of my problem. I've got minus 3, and now here I need to do 82 times 9. I'm using my calculator, and I'm going to get 738. That's what this is, but this was a plus here. Make sure you put that in. So here's my simplified problem. I have a subtraction and addition. What am I going to do first? It says add first, but remember it's from left to right at the same time. So I'm actually going to subtract first and get 69 plus 738. And 69 plus 738 is 807. I still have a nice V shape going here. Now, I think this is fun. Let's get your golden calculator out. Okay? And I'm going to show you step by step what I'm going to put into the calculator. We can even do fractions. Are you ready? 32 divide. I've got to do the fraction 4/9. Are you ready for it? See this button here that looks like a fraction, this n over d? I'm going to hit this to let my calculator know I have a, I'm trying to help you with that glare, and I don't know how to do that. How about I prop the calculator a little bit? There you go, that helps. Okay, so I'm going to hit my fraction button, and look how the calculator turned into a fraction up here. I'm going to put 4/9 by putting 4, but look, I've got to use my wheel to say I'm ready to put in my denominator, and now put in my 9. But how do you think I make it go from finishing my fraction to my subtraction symbol? I'm going to go to my wheel and I'm going to move it to the right. And that lets it know I'm ready for another operation. Okay, minus 3 plus 82. What does that dot mean? Good. Multiply. And then 3. And how do I do with the exponent? If it's squared, I'm just going to hit my squared button. All right. I'm going to go back and check to make sure I have it correct. 32 divided by 4/9 minus 3 plus 82 times 3 squared. Enter 807. Didn't we do great? All right, love the Go calculators, and yes, you are going to get to use one on your test. I hope you had fun doing this. I really enjoy it myself. I'll see you guys at the end.